Another day in paradise, but this is something really special we've got today. It's a 125cc Works MZ, 1959-1960. You all know the story of MZ, how Ernst Degner decided that there was more opportunity in Japan, so he did a runner from East Germany and ended up at Suzuki. All the Japanese bikes were rubbish two-strokes until Ernst Degner told him how to build decent two-strokes. So, and of course, Walter Codden, who was the instigator of the two-stroke principles, believe it or not, he worked on V2 rockets during the Second World War for the Third Reich, him and von Braun, and that's how the Americans got to the moon, because all the American forces took von Braun and all the scientists, set him up in a town in America to design and develop and get the moon rockets going. But Walter Codden, he decided he was a real motorcyclist. He wanted to stay in East Germany, which he did. And we were very lucky. We got this bike from Jim Lilly. He was an adamant collector in Northern Ireland, no longer with us, lived in Lisburn, not far from the Ulster Grand Prix circuit. And we've always had a great friendship, and I think he appreciated what I was doing in the museum. So he unfortunately became ill with a dreaded cancer, and on his last few months he decided that he would like to sell his collection to our museum. So we were lucky. We got Freddie Spencer's NS500, we got Conlaw's Mark IV Suzuki, and we got Luigi Taveri's 125 Works MZ. Jim Lilly actually went to East Germany to meet Walter Codden's son, who had this bike, and Jim Lilly spent a few days there working. He went to the factories, was shown around the factory, and spent a lot of time. I think it was 4 days he spent with Walter's son. And believe it or not, in the communist regime, everybody at the MZ factory got the same money. Top designer, the guy sweeping the floor up, they all got the same money. So that wasn't very encouraging for the top designers. Anyway, Walter, with all his formulas that he got from the V2 rockets, came up with this wonderful answer to two strokes, and this turned out to be the fastest engine. It produced 180 brake horsepower per 1,000 litres. That was in 1960, so that was way ahead of all the Italian Mondials, which I raced. Third in the World Championship in 58 and 57, then I raced the Ducati in 1958, and then I decided that trials riding was a lot more safer, and it'd better be an old road racer, better be an old trials rider than a destroyed road racer. So then I sort of totally joined their wheels, totally went trials riding, and anyway, I think it'd be great if we have a look inside this and show you the formula that made it the most exotic bike and most talked about really bike in the world. I don't think there's another bike in our museum that's got the history of this. Can you imagine? V2 rockets, East German, Walter Codden, Ernst Degner. Ernst Degner actually, after he finished with Suzuki, he retired to the Tenerife, and lived in Tenerife until he passed away, unfortunately. And there we go. So we'll drop the fairing off. So Jan will give me a hand to drop the fairing off, and we'll have a look inside. Got a screwdriver, Jan. Right, so we'll just drop the fairing off. I'll take the speedo rev. You need to drop that out. In the old days you had to thread that through the and this one here, Jan, this top one here too. the fairing. There we go, drop that off. How you doing, Jan? Right? So one hand here at the back. Before the MZs took over, these were what we were racing. That's Miller, third in the World Championship, 1957 250 Mondial. Great bike, full fairings, you can see. The full fairings were banned in 57. They went to Dolphin type fairing. That's 1958 TT Ducati. I finished fourth on that. So these were dominating the scene before MZ came, and that was really the finish of the four strokes for quite a while. So there you go. Right, so we should drop that off. So one hand there, Jen. Drop it forward. There you go. That's how the fairing came off. So there you go, MZ fairing, Luigi fairing. Those are some passes. That was when it was demonstrated at Francorchamps Belgium Grand Prix. It was there that day. I was riding the V4, the AGS V4 then. Right, here we go. There we go. That's the little 125 engine. Very neat. One of the first things that I learned when I was a young lad racing two strokes, if you come around this side here, it was imperative that you always had the float bowl well in front of the carburetor and a big supply line of fuel to the carburetor. Why was that? Because when you were accelerating hard, it forced the fuel back into the carburetor, which was semi-supercharged, whereas if you had the float chamber behind the carburetor, you got a weak mixture, which was prone to seizure. So that was one of Miller's first ideas on two-stroke. So there's the tank off there. It's pretty badly beat up, but absolutely genuine. There's a bit of nasty repair around the back, but we'll keep that all original because there's a lot of history. And so we get down to this nitty gritty. So the real secret of the water cardan was a disc valve. We'll pull the carburetor off here and let you see a disc valve. So if you look in here, I'll just drop that off and then you can see it better. This is the little induction here. So this is apparently this disc valve gave you 180 degrees induction, which was way beyond. Before the disc valve, they used the piston to control the inlet. But there we go. So that's your inlet there. Right. So I'll just, if you like to turn that over slowly, Jan. Back end here. Right, Jan's turning over. You can see the disc valve there flying around. You see it's open, open, open. You see the duration of the open. Now, what I want to explain to this engine, revved at 10,000 RPM, and it's something that Miller can never really grasp the nettle. If you even spin the wheel quickly, Jan, as quick as you can. You see how quick? Can you imagine that opening 10,000 times in a minute? How on earth the fuel ever get in and out? But quicker, Jan. Isn't that amazing? So there we go. So that's the induction. So we get in here, right? That's the cylinder head. You see the cylinder head here? That's all. If Suzuki had seen this about 40 years ago or 50 years ago, they could probably give Miller $1 million to see it, you know. The combustion chamber, do you see how that's relieved there and back into a deeper area? So that means that when the piston comes up, it forces the fuel from that area back in to the spark plug. So it's only single spark plug. In later engines, they always use twin plugs because if you get two sparks here, you get a far better combustion. So there we go. So we have a look down in here, and if maybe get a torch so you can see the magnitude of the ports. So that's top dead center. If you look down in there, do you see the size? Look at the exhaust port, the size of the exhaust port. You need to point back that way to see the ports. And the transfer ports are on the side. That's a booster exhaust port, this one here. So if you can imagine the fuel from the crankcase coming out of this here, and it's heading up into the combustion chamber, not sideways where the transfer ports are going. So obviously if you can fire the mixture up into the combustion area, it's a lot more efficient. So then the piston, it's nice. You see the carburetion's nice too. Semi-bronze, that's a good mixture. When you get it going white, you know you're too lean and you're ready for a big seizure. So that's, if you fire that round, Jan, you get the magnitude of how those ports are opening and closing 10,000 times in a minute. So there we go. That's the exhaust out the back, which most two-strokes until this fired them out the front. But this was a better escape for the gases and into this calculated expansion box where they, I know when we worked at aerials and with on the two-stroke and Villiers and stuff, the capacity of this is of super importance. It must be really, really very, very tight like that. And this is a small outlet which gives you back pressure. So the formula for working out all this here is highly technical. So, but that's where you get your horsepower from. Really highly technical. It's got a 6-speed gearbox in it, which is way ahead of its time. That's your rev counter here, and that's up onto the top here. And we've got the bloodline at 10,000 RPM, so you don't want to rev it any more than 10,000 RPM. These are all the original levers. You see, East German, not the best of engineering. It's got leading link forks, which are very good. I always like leading link forks, but the best forks are trailing link, but they don't seem to handle too good on corners. Can't believe that only single cam front brake, because everybody, even in those days, had twin cam. So when you have a single cam, it don't work too good, because you just open the brake shoes like that and all this bit here doesn't really contact. But if you have two cams, they both open out like that, and it's twice the brake. So Walter Carden could have got a few tips from Miller then to put a twin cam front brake on it. On the back we've got single cam again, which is single operation. I'll just operate that brake. If you have a look on this side here, they were all little guys that raced them. You see the size of his foot, although you've got another position for the footrest there. So I'm afraid Miller wouldn't be much good on that. If you put Miller's shoe on there, you see where the bloody gear lever is. Miller wouldn't have qualified, I'm afraid, for that position. So there we go. So we're just going to reassemble it, put it back on display. But how lucky we are that we've got one of the most exotic early two-strokes of its time. So, and of course Suzuki, Yamaha, Bridgestone, they all copied this when it got to Japan. And before then, Suzuki were pretty rubbish, and then they went on to win world championships with Ernst Degner and Taveri, and lots of famous riders raced it. Mike Hailwood raced it, Phil Reed raced it, Woodman raced it, Alan Shepard raced it. Miller didn't race it. Tommy Robb raced it. Luigi raced it. So in those days too, East Germany, there's big lack of money, so they couldn't pay riders in those days. So if you got a ride on one of these here for the MZ factory, you kept the prize money, but you didn't get paid to ride it. So, but Halewood and all those guys, they had quite a lot of victories on them. So, and the prize money in those days was quite good. So they were definitely worth racing, especially if you were racing old four-strokes, because you were far quicker than them. So they won the West German, East German Grand Prix, Czech Grand Prix, Italian Grand Prix, Monza, and quite unique. Then of course later they made a twin, or they bore this out at 250, and again that was well up on its class too. Seen off the four-strokes, no trouble with the extra power it was producing. So wonderful bit of tack. So lucky we are. So there you go, East Germany, MZ, V2 rockets, the Stasi, East German police, High Walter Ernst Degner got out is another story, because it isn't a story. I don't like the word story, the fact. So he's decided he's done a bit of a deal with Suzuki behind the doors. So his wife and kids are in East Germany behind the iron wall, and he's racing in Sweden, Swedish Grand Prix. So he decides that, organises that when he disappears off with a team to race at the Swedish Grand Prix, his wife and two kids do a bunk over, get through the Berlin Wall and out to the west. And when Walter Carden's racing in the Swedish Grand Prix, his MZ happens to break down at the far end of the circuit, and there happened to be a taxi waiting for him, some of his mates, so that whistled him from the Swedish Grand Prix to West Germany and to join up with Suzuki with all the information, all the plans. So he was obviously a superhero in Japan, raced Suzukis and got them to the world beaters. Wonderful history, wonderful history. So there we go. You've seen how it works. So another day in paradise.